Hi. It's not spooky. Spooky's
Yeah,
over there. Spooky's over there confused.
How are you?
I'm over here hanging out. I just didn't do this movie.
I would do that, but my throat is so screwed. I just could not.
You know, dear, I had a theme going where, the suffering became higher with every movie.
Yeah.
And he didn't stick to theme very well.
True.
Except for me. Well, actually, I guess Gam suffered a lot during this movie.
I mean, would you just
Here's the thing. I didn't
consider
suffer.
gratuitous death to be suffering?
Well,
Fuck
none
no.
of the deaths mattered.
That's fair. That's fair.
Fuck
All
no. I look at shit where the death is like the biggest fucking part, and I'm like, this shit isn't suffering enough. Smack. Get this out of here.
This entire thing was death.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It was suffering because we never had a chance to stop. Anyway, so we watched Dead Leaves. Well, okay, let me put it this way. I made them watch Dead Leaves.
We watched
Did
Dead
we
Leaves.
watch it, or did we just,
we
stand here as it happened? I think it's more accurate to say Dead Leaves happened and we were in the room.
No, yeah, that's a fair assumption.
That's not me saying, Dead Leaves is bad. That's just me saying, I don't know how to comprehend... I don't know if I actually watched it. It just happened.
So, I said this was a little short called Sex and Violence with Mach Speed, which is 9 minutes long, and I feel like I was hard focused on this for about 9 minutes, and then I was just watching my screen, and I don't know, my brain was just yeah, and that was about it.
You're just now that's happening.
Yeah, I was like, okay, let's go. I know what to expect, and I did kind of know what to expect, but then it was 45 minutes of that, and I was like I feel
fair,
my brain was exploding.
Yeah, to be fair, I think later we both agreed with it was like Sex and Violence at Mach Speed meets Panty and Stocking. Very much. It's kind of like
Violence with Mach Speed meets Panty and Stocking with
it's kind of like
Bounce.
those two had sex.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah. And there was a lot of that in this, anyway.
Yeah, so...
A lot of rape.
Gam. Yeah, there was. Gam, Spooky, what do you actually think I think of this? I'm curious.
So I think you like the art a lot, and I think you have a fun time just kind of turning off your brain and watching it. But I don't think it's a 10 for you. I think it lingers probably somewhere around... I would say a 7 or 8.
I'd say it's a 9 for you, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's a 10, because, I wouldn't be surprised if you was I fucking love it. Be that's it seems like something that you just love, because it is that sort of, just the kind of thing where it's you're not forced to turn your brain off, but it's you can't turn your brain on. It's just visuals and good animation.
It's a roller coaster, and you're going, happening. Wee!
Yeah.
In a way, yeah. That's how I am.
It's not a spooky dark
that's how
ride
I think you'd
where you
experience
have to think.
this.
It's
that's
just a
why
roller coaster.
That's why I think you like it a lot.
So I say 7 or 8.
I gave this an 8, actually.
Okay, cool.
So Gam's right. I do enjoy it, and it's just kind of wee fun roller coaster times. I don't have to think, but I don't like watching it often. For the fact that
watch.
It does hurt a little bit to watch, honestly. But I would also
just from the fact that it doesn't stop.
Yeah, it does not stop. It is 100% just constant. Oh my god. And then from there, it's just yeah, I've watched Dead Leaves. I like to sit there and be yeah, I've watched it. I don't want to watch it again, really, anytime soon. But I've watched it. And I'm glad that I've watched it, and I'm glad that I enjoyed it. But
this is something where, in about 5 years, when I'm yeah, I don't really remember Dead Leaves. I might, show it to, Caleb. You know what I mean? It's definitely not I want to sit here and watch this all the time. It might be something where maybe someday I'll look up a scene where I'm like, that looked really cool, but
It
feels,
feels like a YouTube movie of like you look up specific scenes of it on YouTube.
I was about to say, it feels like the director's college final video that he made as an animator that he's submitting to his professor. That's kind of what it feels like.
In a way, yeah, because it has no story, and then it makes fun of the fact that it has no story, and like jokingly injects story into it just so it can like provide some sort of justification for the end, but really the story doesn't care about it and actually doesn't want any story. Yeah, that makes sense. Like a college, like it's made by someone who doesn't want to write something; they just want to draw something.
Yeah. So this was MIU's.
They don't want to make you
first.
They don't want to make you feel for what they're writing. They just want you to go, "Whoa, that was cool."
Yeah.
So this is MIU's first like directorial debut, technically.
And if you don't know who Imaishi is, that's Gurren Lagann, Kill la Kill, Panty and Stocking with Garter Bell, Promare.
Yeah. Basically
every big fucking Trigger show, or
yeah.
Not Inferno Cop though. Not Inferno Cop, which is the only other Trigger thing we've seen on this podcast.
Yeah. Weirdly, before that, right before he had directed, he did do some key animations for Evangelion, and some on Fooly Cooly and Die Buster in various animation roles. So there's that.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so this is his first like production, and then the first episode of Ari Cutie Honey OVA, he also did. So, I'm kind of avoiding it because it's just very straightforward. Yeah, what happens in it?
So we immediately start with just some sort of TV man who I'm calling TV man. Deer says his name halfway through, but I don't think
the
movie ever says it.
It's retro and
so I'm just calling him TV man.
All right.
I called him TV man. Did my first note is TV man?
Anyway. my first note is literally TV man wakes up to some panda woman waking him, because I think he called her Panda or something, because she has an eye.
Her name's Panda.
I forgot to take notes for like the first couple seconds because we're not used to it, so I said naked lady and TV man are cold and hungry.
Yeah, they wake up, they don't remember anything. He ogles her, and then they realize they're hungry, and they look over and see a city. And I was like, oh, okay, this looks pretty neat, real stylized. We cut to people in the city going about their normal days, real sort of rigid, static emotions and animation of them walking around. And then suddenly there's an explosion. They've robbed a bank or whatever, and now they're stealing a car. And I was like, oh, it's one of these animes, isn't it? It's one of the nothing makes sense, just accept it kind. I was like, oh, I'm not gonna have a fun time. Because it's...
to be fair,
now they're being chased by the cops.
I didn't think you would have had a fun time, but I didn't think you would have had a bad time.
I mean, I didn't have a bad time because I wasn't insulted, but it's like... It's like... It's like someone handed... It's like I've sat down to eat dinner, and everyone around me is ready, and we all have plates in front of us, and there's nothing on the plate, and everyone's like, oh, this is so delicious, and I'm like, what? But there's nothing there. Like, the plate looks nice, but there's no food there. And everyone's like, what are you talking about? It's delicious. It's great. And I'm like, what?
We're that one Auntie Donna skit where it's like the two have filled up on cheese.
Is that good?
And we're just sitting there like we filled up on the other movies, and then Deer's like eating a full meal, and we're just sitting there like, yeah, delicious. It's just an empty
yummy.
Plate. No.
Because this is the next scene is them being chased by the cops, and here's where it all kind of fell apart for me. I have no stakes.
This is like the first 5 minutes.
Yeah, this is where it all fell apart. This is where it all fell apart, because it's a case of like all this shit's happening, but none of it matters. It's like, oh my god, this person could do. It's
not
like
wrong,
insane things just happen. It's like there's no set rules or like there's no, okay, this person is clearly more powerful. It's just things happen because they need to happen in the story. So it's like, why should I be invested in this story when there's no point in me being invested of like, oh my god, what happens to this character when the story doesn't care about what happens to the character. It's like, oh my god, will the TV guy survive this crash? It's like, will they survive the chase by the cops? It's like, it doesn't matter because like the story doesn't care, so why should I care? It's like, it's just, all that happens is things are happening on the screen and it looks very nice, but there's nothing to it except that it looks nice and very stylized.
Yeah.
You ever...
So they're being chased by the cops.
So, okay.
Yeah?
I don't know if you'd have this, but Spooky, do you ever have this thing where it's just like, there's an idea in your brain, and there's no reason to draw it, but because you're an artist, you just draw it anyway?
Yeah.
I feel like that's what this is.
The way I described it was, it feels like a 5-year-old wrote this, and like a 5-year-old directed this after they've been like had a shit ton of sugar, like not quality wise like a 5-year-old wrote it, but like a 5-year-old being like, and then they stole from the bank, and then they like shot all the cops, but then like more cops came, and then a robot spawned on the back of a truck, and then the woman punched the robot and the robot blew up. It's like that. It's like, okay, but I mean, why is any of this happening? It's like, 'cause it's cool!
I would absolutely say that just sounds like Imaishi.
And my thing is like, okay, that's cool, but like, you know, you can actually put, it's like, you can make it worth, like, you can have this, but you can also make it mean something as well. Like, you don't even have to like tone it down so it's like a standard fight. Like, you can make this super stylized and have this. You just need to make things make sense. That's all. Or if they don't make sense, make them not make sense in a way that makes sense, if that makes sense. Like, have there be some type of uniformity or like reason to the chaos, but there's just nothing here. It's just chaos for the sake of chaos, which if you like it, cool, but there's nothing to this except how cool it looks. Like, that's it. And it's like, so the cops are chasing this guy. The man farts. They fight the police. More police show up. And this is what it fell apart, because I was like, I can't keep track of spacing or framing or what's really, like, what are the stakes. It's like, oh, okay, that's just what it is. All sense of who and what is just out the window. I can't really get into it. I'm just reading my notes, because I'm curious what I wrote too. And feel anything, I guess I just have to accept it as a thing. Big robot gets out of a truck and attacks them. She punches it, it's dead. And then the TV guy's like, oh, we must have been assassins before we lost our memory. And she looks up at the moon, which I thought was just a random asteroid or something, but no, it's the moon that's like broken up and like drilled. And her eye starts to hurt, and she's like, oh, and then they crash the car, and immediately are captured by the cops and are sent in a rocket to the moon. And I guess the moon is a jail of some sort. And then we get the title scene where
Dead Leaves,
where like the moon rocks move apart, and there's a baby in there that gets squashed by the rocks, whatever. Then we get some opening narration by some woman saying that there was a tree with many leaves and something about caterpillars. I don't know. It's like not stopping at all. It's just going. And then it zooms out to see her sort of in a room, and I'm like, is this the warden or something of this prison? Because, like, it's a pretty open room, looking at Earth. We cut to the two, Panda and TV Man. They're in a padded cell. She's all calm, he's bouncing around. And we zoom out to the security guards that are watching them on the TV, ignoring the fuck out of them. Suddenly, it's food time, so they hit a button, and all the inmates get hoisted up, Half-Life style, and sent away to get food. A man has a drill for a dick.
That's the only...
electric cables come down and zap him. What?
That's the only important part about him, yeah.
I wouldn't even say it's important. It's just that's him.
That's him.
Drill dick, man.
There has to be a drill in Imaishi work, you know.
So
Gam doesn't understand that I'm not joking.
No. You saw him and you were like, there it is, there's the drill. And I'm like, is this a thing? And then you were like, there has to be a drill. And I'm like, okay, I guess this is just a thing.
It's a thing.
Wait, hang on. What's his name again? Because did he do Star Wars Visions? Because the trigger, one of the trigger
Yes.
Star Wars visions has a drill in it.
Well, I don't. Probably he's like the main trigger guy, so I would imagine.
Hang on. I need to look this up because I just remembered there is a drill in the trigger Star Wars. What's his name again? Hiroyuki
Imaishi.
Yeah, he did it. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay.
He
I
did
was
do
gonna
it.
say
The
that
Star
makes
Wars
sense.
vision.
He's like the literally.
I was gonna
the
say
main-
there's a drill in that, and I'm like, oh, yep. Fun fact: that was also one of my least favorite ones because there's nothing to it. It's just a fight scene that has no stakes to it. I guess I just don't like that person's stuff. Cool.
Yes. Fun.
So, what was I up to? Oh yeah, electric cables come down and zap them.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Then a tube comes down and feeds them. Cool.
Yeah.
Then snake charming music plays and cables sort of coil up like dancing snakes and sticks in their ass to suck out the shit.
Yep.
TV man ends up liking it. He has a kink for it. Haha. Alarms go off and the security guard comes out of the floor and is like, hey, you prisoner, you shat too much. You backed up your tube. You're disgusting. You're awful. You're a waste of resources. I sentence you to death. And he gets the other security guard to kill him. He's like, okay, I'm done. Go back now. And sends all the prisoners back to their cells. But he locks eyes with TV Man and they have a moment of, which, sure. Some other prisoner comes up besides TV Man is like, hey, it's best not to upset the security dudes. They're really strong. They're not like us. They're all clones. And then he goes away and another one comes back. And it's like, we're all clones, so it doesn't matter if we die. We cut to the panda lady and she's mining. It's cool. A doctor is next to her, who I call Dr. Exposition, because that's his only role. And he tells her that he lost too many patients, so that's why he's here. And he's like, why are you here? And she's like, all I remember is something about caterpillars. And we cut to security dudes killing more people. And something about it, like, they're all ugly due to a gene or some kind. Cut back to the warden. He's getting a breakdown report of the day. Of like, hey, this many inmates died. This many were injured. All this happened. And she doesn't care. Cut back to the cell where TV Man and Panda are. Panda's asleep. TV Man is trying to sleep, but there's only one bed. So he rolls around and lays on the floor, lays on the wall, rolls around. And then he's like, wait a minute. I'll just fuck her. He goes to sleep next to her and he's like, come on, let me fuck you. And she's like, fine, if you have to. And he's like, but how? We can't even do anything. And he's like, but there's a slot where they put the poop thing. And she's like, fine, whatever. So they fuck. And then cut to everyone in the prison hearing it and being like, oh my god, I'm so inspired. Drill Man is so inspired that he rapes someone, puts his drill dick up someone's ass and kills them. The sex was so good it opened their cell door, by the way, and also it broke them out of their bonds and cuffs, and they question how it happened, but they just accept it because they don't know, and that's, again, it's the sort of thing of like, I guess, sure. Now everyone gets set free, because all the prisoners are like, take us with you, and they're like, sure. And so they all get set free too, because their sex was so good. They bow down and thank them for their freedom, and they're like, we'll dedicate ourselves to you two. And TV Man is like, oh my god, we must have been in the Yakuza before. And then they're like, okay, prison break time, spooky takeover.
Yeah, will do. I also do want to say really quick, I liked how, because they do word it, so it's like, oh yeah, the sex is what did it, but it's more like, they just knew how to undo their shackles and they didn't know why, but everybody was like, wow, your sex was amazing. Also, you just knew how to undo your shackles. And it's like, they all have to start with like, wow, that sex was really cool. Anyway, time for the prison break. So sirens start going off, whatever. And a bunch of guards show up and they're like, okay, we're here because there's a fucking prison break. And, one of the prisoners goes up and starts yelling at one of the guards' faces, so he fucking gets shot. Like, what did you expect, idiot? And then everyone's like, holy fuck, he just got shot. It's like, yeah, they've already established that they just fucking kill people for shitting too much, so I'm not really that shocked.
I think my favorite part about that is that he, like, sits up and goes, ow!
Yeah. Yeah, he sits up and goes, ow, at the gunshot through his fucking chest. So, the main characters, of course, start fighting, and they're fucking kicking ass, and also Drill Dick Man is kicking ass, because of course he is. I don't know, he has the drill, so...
He drills somebody in half at one point.
He does drill somebody in half, which is kind of impressive. So, guards with motorcycles start coming in, driving along the walls and just shooting down into people. The main characters end up stealing one of the motorcycles to escape, and they're, like, driving with... So there's one motorcycle, probably about 100 prisoners. All of the prisoners are just holding onto the back, like in a big chain. Which is just so, like, of course this is how we choose to do this.
You know the fight in Panty and Stocking where they're at the school and it's Panty and Stocking shooting at... what are their names? The two
Scanny
demon
and
girls I love.
Knee
Scanny and Knee Socks. Yeah, and it's literally just them on a car, like, driving through a school, shooting at each other.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it reminds me of.
Yeah, it's just such, like, a fucking, like, such an Imaishi thing to do. To be like, okay, we have a motorcycle and about 100 prisoners, what do? Just, they all grab onto each other.
Quick,
and they're animated like a giant tube with faces. Yeah. So they're driving through the fucking hallway. Which is they establish that it's too fucking narrow for all of them. It's so ridiculous. So a giant thing appears to start attacking them. I didn't catch where the thing came from. Like, was it just another
fell off
mutated
the walls.
thing?
They were just like weird prisms.
They're like
on
a
the
security
walls that just
system.
fell down.
Okay,
basically.
so it's just like a security system creature. And it just starts attacking the giant fucking animated tube of people. They're just like turning to fucking mush. And it's just like gore everywhere behind them. Like very like animated, not like fucked up looking gore, just like red. I don't know. Shit's just fucking happening. So then they're like, well, fuck, where do we go? And Retro suddenly is like, I know where to go. And they're like, oh man, but we need a different path. So he's like, Drill Dick Man, get on up here. And he fucking mounts him to the front of their motorcycle so that they can drill through the ventilation system, which they then establish is even more narrow than the hallway. So they get to the train to take them to the port, and they're talking to the person that's running the train, and they're like, how do you know so much anyway? And they like shut the door, and they're like, how do we know so much? And then Pandy starts fucking puking. So Retro takes Pandy into the main room with the prisoners and is like, hey, do we have a doctor? They're like, yeah, what's up? She's like, yeah, I don't know, she's like fucking puking and shit. And then they're like, wow, look, she's fucking pregnant. You can see that she's pregnant. Like, whatever, she looks very pregnant. And they're like, but we just had sex a little bit ago, and whatever.
That's
so then,
weird.
Yeah, so then we get some fucking lore dump saying that Pandy and Retro are probably spies that the prison used before, which is why they know so much about the prison. Oh, just Pandy. Sorry, I thought they said Retro too. Okay, sorry, just Pandy.
I believe it's just Pandy, but I can double check that.
Okay. So you find out that the prison warden lady, is making living weapon experiments. Like, these people that they're mutating to quote-unquote turn ugly, like, they're mutating them to make them, like, living weapons that they were, like, selling on the black market and shit, using a special mutation gene, which, like, yes, this sounds as ridiculous as what I am saying right now. Anyway, two of the guards, the guard who killed the man for pooping too much and his friend that looks like, fuck, I'm blanking on his name. Is it just Hellboy? He looks like him, but blue.
Yeah, it kind of looks like Hellboy, yeah.
Yeah. Appear, and derail the train and send it to a different port, or on a different route that's not the port. They get on the train, they fucking, like, kill everybody. Like, all the characters that are unnamed, just random prisoners. Then gunfight ensues that turns into knife fight. Where am I right now? Okay, you find out that the fucking warden lady, wants revenge for her dead father because she thinks Pandy had something to do with that?
Yep.
Okay, so she wants revenge because her father died 8 years ago and she thinks Pandy had something to do with that, because Pandy read... Well, it was something with the fairy tale of, like, the caterpillar looking up at the trees. I missed this part because I was typing a thing.
The
so
basic idea, I believe, is that she and her dad dated, potentially. It's not clarified if they did or didn't. And they worked together, like, making these... Or she was at least, like, fucking around the jail while he was working on these human, like, weapons, so to speak.
Okay.
And so she basically develops a relationship with this kid who's, like, whatever, and she's, if you notice in some of the flashbacks, being experimented on, right, to become one of them. But something happens, an explosion happens, a whole bunch of, like, these red shard things go all over the place. She blames Pandy for that, and thinks that she killed her dad.
Okay. Yeah, I picked up on, like, the general gist of that, but I didn't get to see the specifics, because I was typing the things about the living weapons, so I missed it. Alright. So then we cut back, they're fighting, Drill Dickman's trying to save Retro, and he drills into the blue Hellboy-looking motherfucker's neck, and the dude, like, flexes, and it makes the drill, like, kind of reverse, so then he starts spinning, and Drill Dickman dies. Yeah. R.I.P.
No.
The fight continues between Pandy and the other guard, the green one, as the... What?
His actual canon name is Dick Drill.
Oh, amazing. Dick Drill. As Green One gets the upper hand on Pandy, you hear a voice say, "Don't kill her," and then Pandy explodes the man. So that's fun. Meanwhile, fucking Retro gets the fucking drill dick from the rubble.
Also, yeah, they were both spies. I was incorrect. I thought it was just Pandy.
Okay, they were both. Okay, gotcha. So anyway, Pandy then gets to finally confront the warden. She says, "Have you ever thought something for a long time and realized it was wrong?" And, the warden just goes, "Nah, never happened to me." And then she's like, "Give me the genes that are in your eye," because Pandy has one red eye, and apparently there's, like, the mutation genes in that eye. She's like, "Give me those genes, those are my dad's." And, she's like, "Nah," and then she's like, "Okay, Retro, you leave, get to safety or whatever, like, save yourself," and, the warden grabs Retro and rips his fucking head off.
Yeah.
So now Pandy is fucking pissed. The eye starts activating and she goes fucking Super Saiyan, basically. Like, she's, like, just surrounded with, like, fucking flames. They fight. Fucking the warden is like made like half machine essentially. One of her tits is a gun, which is like, sick. I don't know. I've never seen that before.
I want that.
So the warden ends up getting Pandy into a position where she is going to win. But suddenly. Suddenly, the warden gets shot, and it pans down to the baby's arm coming out of Pandy's panties with a gun. And then you also get confirmation that Retro is still alive, he's just a head. And also the blue and the green man are also alive, and they're also just heads. So that's fun. Then Pandy gives birth to the baby, who just comes out of the womb fucking shooting.
I mean, who doesn't, honestly?
Yeah. And then I missed this part too. Somebody swallows something, and I didn't catch
so the
what
two
happened.
heads are like, oh my god, Warden, we're here to help, and she eats them. Because
No,
they
no,
have
that
the
doesn't happen yet.
No?
because they have the red cells.
That doesn't
shards.
happen yet. They get
Yep.
swallowed by the caterpillar.
What's the
But-
caterpillar?
They get swallowed by the caterpillar. After this.
Then
What-
what is Spooky talking about with getting
They're like
swallowed?
Warden, but she gets shot back to the Voltron thing, and the Voltron thing eats
yeah,
her.
by the baby. Yeah, and the entire
Okay.
machine
And
like
then
eats her.
the Voltron thing turns into the giant caterpillar, and then the two
Oh,
security
okay, the
guys
Voltron
are
thing.
like, hey, caterpillar thing, like boss,
Okay.
and then the caterpillar eats them.
Gotcha. So I got a little bit confused here, and I thought for a minute that the caterpillar thing was the baby, and it turns out that's not the case. The caterpillar
Oh,
thing's
no.
a separate thing. So I got that a little, once again, I was reading about the baby shooting, and just kind of missed the next little part. Because everything that was just described happened in, like, a couple minutes.
Not even. Like a minute.
Yeah. So anyway, there is a fucking giant caterpillar thing, because the fairy tale was talking about the caterpillar that would stare up at the leaves too much and blah blah. And Pandy says my favorite line from the whole thing, maybe the only like line where I went, that was actually a decent line, which is she wants to live out the fairy tale, which I was like, that's kind of interesting. I mean, like, it doesn't mean anything in this context, but it was, I don't know, I thought it was a good single line. Anyway, the caterpillar is just destroying fucking everything, and Pandy and Retro's baby has grown old already, and he's like, bye mom, bye dad, and he fucking sacrifices himself to kill the caterpillar thing so that his parents can live. And his parents escape on a fucking little spaceship. And as they're flying back to Earth, they're like, so what are we anyway? Like, are we spies? Are we Yakuza? Are we, like, criminals? Are we assassins? Like, what are we? And they're like, doesn't really matter, does it? And then they get into little escape pod things, and they fall to Earth, and that's like, well, they fall to Earth in a very, like, explosion-y, gory way by, like, landing on civilians. And then that's the end. So, yay.
Mhm.
Lots
I mean,
of
also
stuff happened.
Also, there was the fact that the baby was growing older. Like,
Yeah.
literally from conception to death.
Yeah.
Within
Yeah,
the
in one
span
day,
of, like,
yeah.
of a day. And they're like,
not
yeah,
even
no,
a day, yeah.
I'm not really connected to that baby. We did just have a baby,
Yeah.
but I kind of don't
Retro's
care.
like, oh, this is a little bit sad, and Pandy's like, that thing was born, grew old, and died in, like, less than a day. I don't really care. It's like, okay.
Was
So
it even
yeah,
really
this
an
was
hour?
like, yeah, I don't know how long it fucking was. It was like one fight. See, this whole thing that we just described is only 45 minutes.
Yeah.
It's 45 minutes of content. Yeah, so yeah, it's very Imaishi. This is very much like, because Imaishi kind of has two sides, right? There's like actually three. There's like three sides. There's
Yes.
like I'm going to actually write something.
Mhm.
And I mean, everything that Imaishi touches has a little, like, goofiness to it, right? Like,
Yeah.
like, Gurren Lagann and Kill la Kill, like, they still have goofiness to it, right? And then there's, like, the middle ground where it's like, I want to have fun, but I still want to make something that's, like, coherent, which is, like, where you get pro-mare and shit like that.
Yeah.
And then there's, like, this, which is just him just being like, I'm just gonna fucking have fun. Like, I'm just gonna fucking do shit.
And the
And
ending
that's-
but mostly the ending of Gurren Lagann is just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna draw fun things and do what I want because it's fun.
Yeah, I don't know. See, with Gurren Lagann, I think... I mean, like, the ending, like, is very
Spooky.
actiony, but
They
I would
throw
say that...
literal universes at each other.
Yeah, well... it's not like this, though. It's
Spooky,
different.
it sounds
No.
like you gotta concede this one.
No, I don't know. I think it makes more sense in context, which I know sounds fucking ridiculous.
No, you're not
but...
wrong. It does make
Yeah.
sense in context, but
Yeah.
the reality of it is that he did not have to go that far, but he did because he wanted to have fun.
Yeah, like I said, everything he does has Imaishi fucking goofiness in it. Even the good stuff.
But if there's a reality to it, then that makes more sense than this.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, if it makes sense in context,
yeah. It's just fucking, like, yeah. So everything has some kind of fucking goofiness to it, right? And I like to describe the more, like, you know, here's the shit I actually, like, wrote and, like, cared about more shit as, like, describing the plot of any of those to somebody who hasn't seen it, it sounds fucking stupid and ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
But in context, it makes sense. Whereas, like, this is just the stupid and ridiculous. But it was, like, it's very Imaishi, to where it's, like, kind of charming to me in a weird way, right? Like, the art, the stylization is, like, fucking great. I love Imaishi art. I love this just going, like, this was production IG, and it felt like a Trigger show. Like, this was, like, way before Trigger. This was before Imaishi started writing shit for Gainax. Like, the very first thing, and it's like, yeah, no, I get that. Like, this, like, bleeds Trigger. And, like, a lot of the shots were really nice. A lot of the animation was very, like, yeah, this is something I would see, like, now in Trigger. Like, it's just, the personality is so ingrained in this. Which was fun to see, right? Because I had never seen this before. And I'm a fan of Imaishi. So I was like, this was a fun thing to experience.
I mean, I think that's why I say it's an 8 for me. It's like, yeah, I'm glad I experienced it. And if someone was like, oh, you really like Dead Leaves? And I'm like, I mean, yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Like, it's... Yeah, like, it's just... It has the personality, right? And that's what I like about it, is the personality. It's like, here are these shots that I can be like, wow, I can see where they used this shit in later works. Like, how Imaishi has, like, built upon his style, like, from this to now, is, like, you can still tell it's his, and I think that's neat. Yeah. I don't know, I think that's really cool.
You 100% know who it's directed by, and go, oh, they directed XYZ that you've seen before.
It's like, you can
like,
just
Gam, you even
tell.
literally were like, oh, wait, he did a Star Wars thing.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I recognize it purely because Spooky was like, he has to put a drill in everything, and I was like, oh yeah, that's right, there was because I remembered that Trigger did 2 of the Star Wars Vision things, and I was like, hang on a second, I think there was a drill in that. Wait, I want to know if it was this guy now, because that's pretty fucking funny to me. And yeah, it was.
I
didn't really like the Star
There's always a drill.
I felt the same with the Star Wars thing that I did with this.
Yeah,
it looks
which
nice.
That was also just, I think, Imaishi having a good time, right? Like, given...
Yeah.
I don't know. Imaishi having a good time versus Imaishi, like, actually writing something is so vastly different. It's, like, fun, but not at the same time. It's, like, fucking crazy. Like, there's always going to be that level of Imaishi goofiness. But, I mean, fuck, look at Promare. Like, that blew the fuck up, you know, and I think Promare's that middle ground of...
Didn't think it was that great.
Well, the thing about Promare,
okay, but it did blow up, though.
It blew the fuck up. This wouldn't blow up, but Promare
Oh god,
did.
no.
Promare, I think, was just kind of fun, too. Like, that was never meant to be something where it's like, here's a crazy fucking storyline that was just kind of a fun action flick.
I mean,
I feel like people kind of made it out to be more than that, and it wasn't more than that. It was just a fun action flick. From what I've seen of Promare,
it looks like it has a serviceable plot and serviceable characters to hang a visual story on.
Yes, 100%.
Like, it's not about the
100%.
story. It's just about, like, mainly showing these things. It's kind of like on the two ends of the spectrum, you have pure visuals, not caring about story and character, and then you have pure story and character and sacrificing visuals to get it. Promare is more towards the first end, where it's like, there is a story, there are characters, there is stuff to dig into, but it's more so just about the visuals.
Yeah, it's just
like,
visual, fun action flick, and that's like all it right? It's just like fun.
Like, yeah, you can read stuff into it, but it's it's you're not gonna find to. Like it's not
very
like
surface
groundbreaking.
Level. Yeah.
It's just surface level stuff.
Yeah.
I think the best way there's a lot that we've talked about it. I don't know if we talked about it in this or the commentary or what, but where I said that it was like a college student's final animation submission.
Yeah, it does feel a lot like that. Yeah.
It feels like that.
It's like showing off, like, here's my animation, like, here's cool shots.
Like, this is what I can do.
Very, like, diverse shit. Yeah, no, I agree. But, yeah, I don't know. And it's cool seeing, there's a lot of stuff, like, kind of, and I don't want to really spoil, because I feel like a lot of the things I would say would be huge spoilers for, like, the endings of shit that I don't really want to say. But there's a lot in this that feels very, like, you can tell Imaishi likes these themes and pulls...
Spoilers, Panty gets killed by a giant drill.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it pulls similar themes.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
No, that does not actually that doesn't actually happen, Gail.
Yeah. But anyway, so there's a lot, you can tell even now, like, Imaishi, like, likes these things and, like, uses these things in more recent works. And I think that's pretty neat, where it's like, oh yeah, there's this plot point in Dead Leaves is used later on, like, in Kill la Kill, or, like, used later on in whatever the fuck, and I do like that, too, where it's just kind of like, he likes what he likes, and you can tell... like I said, it's just all about the personality for me. 100% all of my enjoyment from this came from just the fucking personality.
Yeah.
So yeah.
This is gonna be a weird thing to pick out, but I actually really like that Pandy and Retro like each other. Like, legitimately.
Yeah.
Like, they're...
No, I agree. I agree with you.
Like, they could so very easily just be like, oh, we've never met, but I find you so sexy, and I'm gonna fuck you, because everybody else in this goddamn show is either a fucking rapist or horny as shit for some reason. And, just, like, for them to actually be, like, kind of in a relationship that they've probably had in their past life, like, that's just kind of like, that's nice.
Yeah, I did like their, I like their vibes with each other, and, I agree 100% where there was a point where I thought, like, wow, I'm glad they just kind of, like each other. Like, that's...
Listen, it
nice.
might also just be that I also have been the type of person to crawl around and be like, babe, I'm bored. Can we fuck? So, yeah.
But yeah,
yeah,
I don't know.
How are you?
Looks nice.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. I was like the
Listen,
soundtrack too was like very
Yeah,
the
it's a
soundtrack was
pretty
very like
decent soundtrack.
simple and stuff, yeah, but it was very like, yeah, this makes sense. This also makes sense. Like, yeah. So what would you give it, Gim?
You go first.
I mean, again,
what do you think I would give it, dear? I'm kind of curious.
Probably a 6.
Fucking dead on. Yeah, I was like,
I don't
Dead
think there's
Leaves
enough.
on.
Yeah,
I don't think there's enough for you to really latch onto to be like, hell yeah, I like this a lot. Whereas for
it was
me,
just nonsense.
That's it's just nonsense. I quite like nonsense personally, as we've explored in this fucking anime watching Kimono Friends. But like, I don't know. It just, again, it's not something that I want to watch very frequently or go back to or like recommend to people all the time. Like, yeah, we sat down and we're like, hey, we should all watch movies. And I'm like, I should show you guys Dead Leaves. Just because I can.
Yeah, like, I'm glad I watched it. 'Cause, like, I said, it was just nonsense. Like, it was just nonsense. Like, I don't know. It just, again, it's not something that I want to watch very frequently or go back to or, like, recommend to people all the time. Like, yeah, we sat down and we're like, hey, we should all watch movies. And I'm like, I should show you guys Dead Leaves. Just because. I definitely, like, enjoyed the visuals and stuff.
You
I
don't
would
need
say
to
a
watch it
6
again.
is probably about... Yeah, I would say a 6 is about the highest I would give something that's just, like, nonsense, right?
Mhm.
Like, there's absolutely nothing here. It's just what I've said already. Like,
Yeah.
it's just the personality to me. And I think that's about the highest I could give something like that, right? Because it's like... I feel like if I gave it a 7, it'd be insulting to the 7s.
I mean, that's fair.
Yeah, but like and I'm not saying this is even bad. Like, I don't think Dead Leaves is bad. It's just what it is.
It's just
So,
not a lot.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
can't,
exactly. Yeah.
You can't call a book that's like 3 pages long bad. It's just 3 pages long. Like, if it's well, like, directed or whatever, or well drawn or whatever, right? It's not bad. It's just 3 pages long.
Right.
Oh.
Like, that's just all it is. It was just kind of there
Yeah.
for me to experience, and then that was it, so.
Yep. And you don't have to
Anyway.
experience it again.
Okay, Gam.
Give me the 0. Give me it.
2. It looks
2.
good.
Alright. Okay.
Like, it's not 2 because it's bad, it's 2, it's just because I don't really want to look at it again. It's like, the only time I'd ever watch this again is to look at specific things of it from, like, specific scenes on YouTube or something. To, like, go, what did that look like? Or, like, analyze sort of how certain things were done in it. Like, I feel like there's nothing else of worth to it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
that makes sense.
it just, it is what it is, and what it is very little.
Yeah.
That's
It's
just
kind
it.
of interesting to me that I think we're all on the same page, but we have vastly different ratings for it because
Yeah. Yeah.
of just personal preference.
Yeah, because I think it's... Yeah, because, I gave it, like, a slightly above... Like, a very slightly above average.
Yeah. Whereas I'm like this is pretty good. Like,
like,
this
if-
is something
if
that I would like to talk about more often with people. But also, I don't have any interest in watching it again anytime soon.
If we weren't doing the podcast and you would come up to me and be like, hey, you want to watch Dead Leaves? I'd be like, what's it about? You'd explain it to me and I'd say, no.
Yeah.
I'd be like, I'm good. I don't need to watch this. Like, you've just said, like, everything you just said is everything I'll get out of it. It'll
Mhm.
just waste my time.
Right.
Like,
And I definitely think you would
yeah.
like, obviously you're gonna like it more if you know Imaishi's work and you're a fan of it already.
Yes.
Like, that's another
Which-
thing, where it's like...
Which I fucking love
Yeah.
Gurren Lagann. I fucking love Panty and Stalking. I fucking love Kill la Kill. I fucking love most Trigger stuff, which is mostly directed by him.
whereas if... Hang on. I'm trying to think. What's the only... What have I seen of his, then?
Nothing.
Other than the Star Wars Visions thing.
Nothing.
Is that it? Is that the only thing I've seen of his?
Yes, because the only other... the only Trigger thing we've watched on podcast was Inferno Cup, and that was not Imaishi.
And that's still my favorite Trigger thing.
Yeah.
Here, you can go down a
I'm, like,
list of various
I'm
studio
legit
Trigger
worried
things.
now that... I'm kind of legit worried now that fucking... Inferno Cop is actually unironically going to be my favorite Trigger thing.
Oh no.
Because
I mean,
I
that's a
watched
scary
the Star
thing.
Wars... Because I watched the Star Wars Visions, and it's like, it kind of has the same problem of this, but it's like, at least it kind of has the same problem as this, but there is a story to it. The problem is the story is so, like skeleton and bare bones
Yeah.
and,
Mhm.
like, bland that
It
it's
is
like,
literally just
why
so
do
that
you
you
even
get
have it?
from
Just
point A
have
to
the
point
fight?
B.
Yeah, so you've seen only 2 Imaishi things, but they've both been on the spectrum of just like, let's have fun. And that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, they've both just been on the spectrum of let's have fun.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, the Star Wars one was closer, I guess, to having something, but, like, the
Mhm.
thing that it was like, this is not good. I don't know. I should probably watch something else. I really should get around to watching Promare. That it's at least something, but I don't know. I don't want to have to sit down and watch a
I
shit
think
ton of things.
showing
like,
you
isn't Gurren
Panty and
Lagann, like,
Stalking
really
would
big?
actually be a good one.
I know Matt's been wanting to show me Panty and Stocking for a while, but, like, I'm especially now after watching this, I'm worried. I'm like, because, like, already I looked at, like, Panty and Stocking of like you know, screenshots and everything and like the story, and I'm like, I feel like I don't care about this at all.
Penny and
That's fair.
Stocking
Like, it
is
sounds
definitely
cool,
more of like a
But I don't
pure...
care.
Penny and Stocking is pure comedy.
Yeah.
So that's another
Yeah,
thing too.
and,
Penny
like-
and Stocking is not really a story thing that you watch. It's just
Which,
Penny
I might
and
be
Stocking-
entertained by, but I'm
yeah.
worried.
no.
Yeah.
Yeah, Penny and Stocking is definitely different. Penny and Stocking is this interesting thing where the comedy in Penny and Stocking is like super fucking problematic, but like it's everyone's like, okay, we make an exception for this, which is interesting.
Yeah. They don't always make an
Fun.
exception for it, but
A lot of people who normally wouldn't
Yeah.
do, though. Like a
Yeah.
lot, and I'm not saying that like I know a few people, like a lot of people
yeah.
who wouldn't
No,
normally
you're
make an exception
considering-
do.
Well,
so
Put it this way, dear. I've heard a lot of people talking about Penny and Stocking. Spooky is the first person who's ever told me or said anything about there being some sort of problematic element to it.
Oh,
it's
okay.
all like all of it is. It's just that kind of humor, 100%. Like,
Mm-hmm.
So-
Also, let's
Yeah.
just grab you one fast screenshot of Garter Belt. There you go.
No, yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
Okay.
I guess
But,
that I've seen, but like I'm also meant like the writing of it. I didn't
yeah,
mean
Yeah.
the character design. Although that you could very easily
yeah,
make an argument.
yeah.
Oh.
So
That's bad.
Mm-hmm. Anyway.
But
So yeah, that's Penny and Stocking.
someday maybe we'll watch it on
We're
podcast.
done.
Who knows?
I
Anyway,
hope so.
Maybe.
yeah. So Dead Leaves was a time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next week we're watching all of Gurren Lagann.
Woo!
That would be an
I don't-
adventure.
I-
to watch
You're
all
I don't know
of
how
them.
big it is. Is it
It's
big
only
or small?
it's only 26, 25? 25 episodes, maybe something like that.
Yeah.
That's not terrible.
It's not terrible, but if we sat and watched the whole thing, that's a lot of content. Where it's just like, and I don't mean a lot as in 25 episodes. I mean, watching 25 episodes in one sitting is a lot, but I mean more so just like a lot happens.
Mhm.
Not
Okay,
as crazy
Instead,
as this though.
we're gonna
Anyway.
watch the Bob's Burgers movie.
Woo! It's I've
Yeah,
seen it. It's pretty good.
I have not.
It's pretty good actually.
But instead, we're gonna watch the Minions movie. One of
God
them. Who
damn it,
knows?
Spooky.
Finally,
Alright.
actual cinema on this
God.
podcast. Finally.
Goodbye, everybody. We'll see you
Ugh.
next time. Banana.
Goodbye, banana minion feet.